Hello, and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Anika.
And I'm Andrea, and welcome to the season review of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. We've had a lot of ups and downs in this season, and with the DMA, with Book, with Michael, with so many of our favorite Discovery crew. And we're going to discuss our favorite moments, our favorite memories, and our worst episodes, and everything in between, all in this episode. And as always, on our season reviews and reactions, we always have a guest host with us. And today we have Richard. Say hello and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Richard, and I started watching Star Trek as a child. Um, my grandparents used to watch it, and I watched it growing up, and I started loving all the. I love the chess game when they start playing the 4D chess, and it just interests me. And then when they would go on the missions and use the communicators, and when they would beam up. And then, we started going to the malls and they had the sliding glass doors. And you would go, oh man, everything we see in Star Trek, And then when the cell phones came out, you're like, wow, everything's happening. And now we even have the wristwatch that does everything. So it's just been a part of my life growing up. And um, watching the shows as when I got older, I really liked the ones with Data and Picard, in the generations. And so it was just moving on throughout the show, which really, I went to the movies to see it. I loved hearing the sounds and watching Spock show up in almost every type of Star Trek there was. And so that's what brings me here today. So I'm just excited that you ladies are having me on. And this is just a great opportunity for us to expand the audience for this show, which I think really is one of the best shows on television.
Let's talk about our season reactions overall. Like, what overall did we think about season 4 of Discovery? Monica, would you like to kick us off?
So, although it's not my favorite season of Discovery, for me, it's season 1 of Discovery is my favorite with Lorca. I love the representation in Discovery. I love it, love it, love it. But I really think that they've mastered the artistry and sci-fi design. They've really mastered the prosthetics, the costumes, futuristic tech, the scenes. All of that is beautiful. I cannot think of another science fiction show that is as beautiful as this. There's concerns that I have with the story, so and there's some plot holes there. But overall, I love to watch it and not take it as seriously as sometimes I do in this podcast, but I love to watch it. And I think this whole season was about Michael's challenge as a captain to prove that she could make sacrifices. What about you, Richard? What do you think about the season?
Well, I loved it, and it wasn't my favorite because my favorite is number 2, season 2. But this one is again like seeing Michael's growth from where she was to now. In the last 2, it was all. This is basically like book part 1 and book part 2. In the show, and so for me, what I love was the way they would intro the show with the action. It would come right on. You'd have to be sitting in your seat paying attention because the show would come right on before they even get to the whole graphics with everything coming on. So they would bring you right in. And what I didn't like is I like having like more of the traditional where the captain speaks first and tells you the star date. They only did that one time in like episode 4, but I really like the graphics, because I used to do some graphic drawing, and so seeing how they draw out the ships when it's coming on, when they're doing the intro, and from the different angles, the real techie side of me, like, wow, that's awesome. Seeing the scale of the ships from the different angles, what it would look like from this point of view, and then when they show it in the movie, it's like you're right there, and so it's like all that tracks, and it makes it great. But then there were more action scenes that was great in the drama, and so we're gonna get into that. But there were some great acting scenes, that I really liked. But overall, it made me want to see what's going to be the next step.
Wow, such positive answers from the both of you guys. All right, as we all know, I'm dead inside. So I did not like this season. And so I'm actually very happy it's over. I know this was a growth season, and maybe it's like I don't like filler. It seemed more like a filler season for me. Like we had to have Michael grow. And so there was a lot that had to happen to get her there. But necessarily, like, y'all didn't have to do everything I did in the season to make Michael grow. Like, y'all didn't have to kill off an entire planet to make her grow. Like, you didn't have to like almost kill Book to make her grow. Like, I felt like there was other ways she could have proven herself. I felt like if this was more like a season 1 type of thing, where it wasn't really a mystery, it sort of turned into one, and we were all like shocked by it, I would have felt maybe more in tune to it. Because I don't know if I have a favorite season, but I do like number 1 the most. I don't know. I don't want to say it's my favorite because there are certain parts of season 1 that I don't like. Of like what I've currently seen, I do like it the most, and I liked that it was a mystery, but not really. And it didn't seem like every episode was contingent on like the same episode right before it. I like that it was a little bit more freeform versus this has to happen, then this domino, then this domino, then this domino. And that's what season 4 felt like. It felt like there was no room for flexibility. It was very rigid. And that didn't seem my Star Trek for me. So I'm very excited to see what season 5 has. Because I really hope it's not another mystery. I would just like maybe a little bit of a mix of Strange New Worlds with this. They've opened up the door to Strange New Worlds. So let's go ahead and talk about this episode because I don't want to say too much. You guys know how I am. I am the one that's dead inside. So on to the light of our podcast, the angel of our podcast, the good person of our podcast. Monica, what is your first favorite moment or memory from season 4?
Okay, so with season 4, I really like the boxing scene in All In. Really showed a different side of Joanne and Michael that was fun. There was lots of other scenes within that casino scene that was really good. Really liked that cat and mouse, that chase, that hustle. It reminded me of like what I think Michael would have been like when she was a courier. Like working these side hustles, trying to get the lithium to complete her mission or whatever. And that's the kind of Michael that I like. And they were not following any Starfleet rules, and they were able to get the job done. They were able to get the money. Right. Joanne was able to physically beat the guy down that she was boxing against. So yeah, she showed her kickboxing moves. She showed how agile she is, especially as a person that grew up without technology. And so her character has really evolved over time. We're learning a lot more about her. I'm looking forward to learning even more about her.
I like that scene. I agree with you. That episode, there were some flaws. I think I remember correctly. I was pissed at the end of that episode. But I did like the fighting scene. It's nice to see Black girl power, Black girl, well, I won't say magic because we're in space. This is science. Black girl science and fighting and techniques, because they like to say women can't take down a man, but Joanne proved them all wrong. She took them all down.
Yes, can't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
And it was great because she didn't just come in and win. You saw her struggle and get knocked down, but Michael kept believing in her, and wouldn't stop it, and told her she wanted to go on. And so it was just like the same thing. You could have put anybody in those scenes, male or female, and it would have went the same way. So I appreciated that it was showing them that this is what you go through. It was really to line it up with life and the things they were going through, and that when you keep getting knocked down, it's not about how hard you get hit, but how hard you get hit and get back up, and then come back on top. And that's what the best part of that scene was.
I agree. Anything to add, Monique, before we move on to Richards?
Yeah, so just a little background information about that scene. The writers listened to a few Star Trek Day interviews, And the actress that plays Joanne mentioned that she had picked up kickboxing during the pandemic and that it was one of her new hobbies, and they wrote it into the script.
Oh, so she can really kick butt. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't mess with that actress. Okay, well, Richard, let's go on to your first favorite moment or memory, or what the memorable, good or bad, from season 4.
It's the standoff on the Rubicon, because in that scene, Michael and Book are on odd sides, but they put someone in there, Security Officer Nan, to make sure that Michael doesn't let her emotions get the best of her. And she's fighting hard to not kill him, but he's damaging the ship. And now it's an act of war, and he makes if they're saying it's a game, but everyone else it's a war. And but now when they put the torpedoes onto the ship and the shields go down to 20%, the whole crew is looking at her like, are you going to protect the ship or keep protecting your man? That scene really was like, people probably were yelling at the screen, take him out. He shouldn't have put himself there in the first place. I mean, so that scene was like one of the most memorable scenes because you're like, okay, are you gonna be the captain of the ship? Because if Book wasn't on that ship, you would have destroyed that ship. It was just one of the things, and the security officer is there, like, hey, we're gonna take him out. We can't keep waiting. So that was one of the whole standoff scene was going on, and everybody is involved in it. All the main characters involved in it, and it's just one of the most memorable scenes because you felt a certain way about the show. Then you bought into the show, and now you are picking a side, and either you're like keep fighting for what you believe in, or take this dude out. I mean, so that's why it's the most memorable.
She should have took him out. No, because you're right. Because it was a moment where she had to pick her crew or pick her man. And at the end of the day, he broke the rules. Like, he broke the law. He almost killed your crew. This is no longer fighting games. He got to go. I'm sorry, Book. I apologize, but you picked the wrong side. What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly.
This is also why I'm single, because I'm quick to pull the trigger.
And they were ordering her to pull the trigger. They were telling her.
I would have told her to.
We can't afford this. It's gonna hurt us. It's gonna hurt Earth. It's gonna hurt Navarre. Everybody was gonna get hurt by this action. And she was making a serious miscalculation. She trusted him, but she didn't calculate Talker in that equation. Because I could easily see if Giorgio had been there, she'd have been like,
oh, Giorgio would have knocked her out of the way.
Oh, no. We're taking Talker. She would have said, we're taking Talker out. She wouldn't have mentioned Book's name.
Oh, if Giorgio was there, this would not.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So it's just one of those things. It was a scene where people would have bought in and felt a certain way. So you said the most memorable scene. That's the one. That's the most memorable one.
Monica, anything to add?
I really like to see the return of Nan into the series. I would also like to see them fill this void that they have right now with the security chief. They need a permanent security chief, whether it's Nan or someone else. Find Giorgio, bring her back. But they need someone to just to have this independent eye for checks and balances, to really, I don't know, keep an eye on Zora, to keep an eye on a lot of things for the crew and the Federation, because they're in a whole new location, timeline. They're not sure of all of the things that's going on. They need someone there.
Yeah, that's what's missing. And her whole little speech she gave, and she does a lot of stuff for the Federation off the books that we don't know what she's been up to. And she was like, well, did you meet your family? Yeah, it didn't work out. Well, what happened? I mean, so she did a whole bunch of stuff, and they're like, oh, you did some cleanup in sector. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's it. She is like the persona non grata. She is the one that is like the most interesting character, and she just pops up. So I just think you're gonna see her pop up more in the future.
Well, Monica mentioned Zora, and so I'm going to use that as a little segue into my most memorable memory of the thing I hated the most from season 4. And it was more in the episode of Stormy Weather and But to Connect, But Zora getting sentient, what is that crap? What was that? We're done. This is over. Did you not learn the whole reason you came to the future? Like, AI being sentient is dumb. It's not safe. They cannot understand human emotion. They may be able, like, we see in the way that Zora has the answers that the crew needs. And no, I think it is Stormy Weather and But to Connect, when
Yes.
we see all of the different Federation members are coming in, and like they're going to vote about going to 10C. Like, we're going to get the coordinates very shortly, because Zora doesn't want to give it to them. They have to convince her to give them the coordinates, and it's her job. And the thing is, a computer doesn't understand, if it's dangerous, I still have to do it. For them, it doesn't make sense. And so them giving Zora a conscience is going to bite them in the butt, because it's a waste of a plot point for me. It's a waste of technology. It's a waste of a character's voice. I don't like any aspect of her having a conscience. Every time she gets emotional, the crew has to stop what they're doing, and they have to talk the computer through the computer's job. Like, they have to be emotional with the computer. And it's like, this is not Star Trek. Stop this. I don't care about your emotions. I don't care, Zora, that you're scared. You're a computer. Give me my coordinates. Do what I'm supposed to do. Get your job done. And I just feel like this is going to be an issue in future seasons, with Zora officially joining Starfleet to have to take orders. What? I hate that entire storyline. I do not like Zora having a conscience. It's not going to work out well. That is my worst episode memory moment of season 4.
Yes, I agree with that part. Yeah, that part was, you had it spot on. And take it further. Remember, she changed her program. We were like, what? Like, we used to the prime directive. You know what I mean? What happened? She's a member of the crew. So that was one that, because you're so used to the captain telling the computer to do something and it does it. And when it didn't, it surprised me. Yeah.
Overhaul, reset button.
The guy Kovic came in to do that.
Yes.
She made this like fail safe so she could be deleted. And they destroyed that. And I was like, what if she got into the wrong hands too? What if, like, there's just a whole other side of this that I didn't like? I did not like that storyline at all. Parts of the episode I really loved, but I agree with you. That took it to a really dark place for me. So I'm going to flip and look at the other side of But to Connect.
Okay.
Because I really like the scene from, like, the diplomatic hearing, the assembly, in which they showed lots of other species participating in basically, and voting for how to move forward. There was lots of surprises for me. I had no idea the Federation was not, like, focused on the prime directive at this timeline. I thought that was a given. But it seems like that's up for debate and that's up for a vote. So it was interesting to see that. And that's really, in episode 7, that's really when the spark or the climax of the story occurred to enter Tarka's conflict into this, and showing also how much he oversteps, manipulates other people, like the president of the Federation. Looks like he took advantage of Vance so that he could get access to the test 4 drive. Like, that's really when we started to see him being conniving and make his way to the top of that assembly so that everyone could hear his plan, that he had not worked out the details. And then later on, we find out that the plan didn't work, wasn't gonna work, and he didn't share his pretense, the reason why he was doing this. So for me, the season really started, this story really started in episode 7 with this scene in the assembly. What did you all think about that scene?
I will say, Tarka, He was really good at being an a-hole. It's like, Book, come on, like you're literally a con man. How are you getting conned? He was the actor. He played that part because I just wanted to slap him every time he came across my screen. So I have to give props to Tarka. He played his role well. I hated him so much. Richard,
And
anything to add?
yes, because he was able to manipulate Book because he saw Book's flaw. Book liked being right. And throughout the whole show, Book is always want to be right. He always want to show Michael he's right. And even though Michael is always right, he wants to show her that he's right. And so in this situation was another situation in which Book wanted to destroy them, get revenge, and then Tarker was able to come in, and the supporting part was why he was doing it for someone who already died, and that he wanted to go back in time. He wanted to use his transport to go back in time when that guy was already dead, that he was trying to go back to. That was like, oh, I mean, I was like, wait a minute. So yeah,
trying to go to his own little universe.
He was doing all this stuff, yeah, and it was just like the power of his transport. And so
very selfish.
Yeah, so when he blew
job.
up, even when he blew up the DMA, he was like, "Oh, hope it's enough power from a transport." So anyway, that was a little disappointing for a segment.
There were a few quick lines in that episode that I picked up after rewatching it, after watching the whole season, right? So that's when I learned that General Nadoy was recently promoted to that general role.
Yeah,
she's a newbie in leadership. And here she was voting as part of this for our whole planet, right? And the Titans, as well as the fact that then her role in this carried on to the later missions in which she really effed things up, right? So, like, if it was someone that was more tenured in that position, then I think things would have gone a lot differently for Earth, for also the DMA and Species 10C. So yeah, so looking back on that, yeah, so she was a little too eager.
very much eager to prove how well she was for that position. Richard, let's start us off with your second favorite memorable moments, memory episode, or whatever you want to talk about from season 4.
It was when Tilly and Michael said goodbye. And because they basically been with us the whole time, and you see both of them grow, but now they have to part ways. And they just I'm glad they took time out to do the scene. You're looking at two of the main characters who have been supporting each other. They were roommates, and now they're going. She knows that she wants to do something else. She doesn't want to keep flying and stuff. She wants to teach, and so she's being called to teach. And Michael's being called to lead. So it was just a memorable moment for two of the main characters.
Okay, I have to give you that one. That was a nice scene because Tilly has been my girl since season 1. Love that chick. Monica, what do you think? So I think when we talked about this episode, you had something to say about it too.
Yeah, I believe that those characters have grown to be besties. Yes. And they have grown apart a little professionally, but that's okay. And they'll always be able to reconnect. They noticed it instantly within each other. I also noticed that those two characters have also grown a lot personally, because there was a time in which Michael was mentoring Tilly, and then there became a time in which Tilly was mentoring Michael, and they mentor each other. Tilly became like the second in command while Michael was away on a May mission. We learned so much about Captain Killy. So yeah, I understand our need to want to go explore something else and try something else new. And it was nice to see them reconnect on the screen.
Yes.
It really was, because when we met Tilly, she only wanted to be a captain. Like, that's really where she wanted to be. And that was where her focus lied. And she wasn't really sure about herself. And we could tell that she had a lot more growing to do. And then to turn into the person where other people want you to teach them. when you can become a mentor to someone else. It shows a personal growth within yourself, and it shows that other people are seeing you as a figure that can lead. Because Tilly was my adorable, annoying roommate in the very beginning of season 1. It was like, okay, Tilly, you can stop talking now. And now it's just like, oh, Tilly, please don't ever stop talking, because you add so much to every scene that you are in, regardless if you are doing your ramblings, if you are doing a drunk Star Trek fixing something, because apparently they do that because they're that smart. She is a great character. So that was nice for them to have their moments of goodbye, so long, farewell, I'll see you again, bestie. So moving on. I couldn't really think of my favorite episode or my best episode. So I'm going to say with one of the episodes that I disliked the least. And it was The Examples. And this is the one where Michael and Book, they are basically on the planet of a colony of a old Emerald Chain colony, and they are evacuating everyone. And I don't know why, when I was going through and I was looking at all the episodes and I was rereading the synopsis, trying to figure out which one I wanted to talk about, I liked and disliked this episode, but for me, this felt like the most Star Trek episode of the season, almost like. Where it was like an away mission, where it wasn't so, it was solely based on the big mystery, but while they were on the planet, it felt like it was a whole nother episode. It felt like they were just worrying about this one current problem, and we weren't stuck in the middle of a season-long mystery that we just needed the next clue in the puzzle for. It felt like while they were just working on the problems and trying to get the prisoners out, I still say it was dumb of that guy to keep that little magical tree thing. It was very annoying. I don't understand why he just didn't find some way to get it to the girl beforehand. I still liked the episode. So that was my favorite one. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, thinking back to that episode, Zora also created a tree with her family. And that's when I started to think, this is getting a little weird, a little awkward.
Yeah, she did. Wait, was it this episode or was it the next episode? I think
it
was.
Okay.
But you're right, because it's based off of this episode, because Michael then made hers.
Right.
And then Zora made. Oh my God. Yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Totally agree with you that the away mission to that planet had a really nice moral undertone to it that I appreciated. And the fact that all life should be valued.
The mayor, I know he was a star in a couple other shows, but when he was saying they're worthless, they're worthless. They are criminals. They're not. It's not worth saving. And then he said, "This is what made it the Star Trek part. We can't save them. We can't get to them. It's too late. All the people that run it are already, ready to be transported up." And then to have Michael say, "Well, we're going down there." Well, that's what made it Star Trek, because now it's what they're there to do. All life is precious. So then they have to break into the prison, right? They have to figure that out, come up with a way to disengage that first security, and then they run into the next security event inside the prison, and then they do the biometrics. Then they get in. This was the dumb part, because they spent so much time talking when they could have been walking. But anyway, you're yelling at the screen, "Let's go."
Let's go already.
And then they get locked in. Oh, we're locked in too. What do you think was going to happen? To be so smart. Anyway, that was just that just drove me crazy. Like, you did all that to get in, and now we're wasting time talking. I mean, hey, you can tell me this on the ship. But I also think when you see an episode like that, when they go save someone, because they did this before, with the guy that was the slave, and the blockchain, there was the slave that was blue. They did this before. They save someone who comes back later and plays an important role. And so I say, anytime they go out of their way to save some people, that one of those people is going to be in a role later on.
Well, I was also thinking maybe because she was a prisoner in recent past, she was an inmate, so she could also connect to that. Yeah. And worked her way up to captain, so yeah. Good choice, Andrew.
Yeah. So moving on, Monica, what is your third and final memorable moment from season 4?
Okay, so circling back to But to Connect, at the very end of the episode, Saru presented the president of Navarre with a plant, a flower, and I was hooked. And I was like, oh, Saru. I think Saru is living his best life right now. He has worked his way up from rags to riches. He was a refugee a long time ago. And Giorgio helped save him from the Baul, from the Bahari, and then he worked his way up, learned like, I don't know, a lot of languages, over 90 languages, and he's been so useful in not only this mission but also helping out Halamar and mentoring Sukal. He's now like an ambassador, an elder. So he can leave Discovery or Starfleet at any time. So although I was worried at first about how I would feel about Saru stepping down as captain, I like the fact that he's also is finding himself in other ways, both with mentoring Sukal and then also relationships outside of the Federation. And you go, boy. I think he's doing a great job. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing where the relationship goes. Okay,
so I agree that Saru is living his best life. I don't care about the relationship with the president of Navarre. I still no. Besties, they can be besties at the end of life. I just don't see that. I don't see a relationship there. But yes, you're right. Saru, he has grown on me because I think in season 1, I was like, dude, you don't go somewhere. He has become one of my favorite characters. From going from, dude, you keep talking and I need you to stop, to, okay, Saru, I see you. I mean, I still don't want you with the president of Navarre. I just don't see that romance connection between them. I know you do, but we all know I'm dead inside. So maybe it's just going over my head and everyone else is seeing it. But I agree. Yeah, Saru, he is living his best life. Richard, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? She made the first move. And I said, man, she likes that big brain. Anyway.
So this could also be an opportunity for us to see a Vulcan wedding.
Or a Kelpian wedding. I mean,
yeah, who knows? They don't use rings, but he could put a necklace on it and they can make a commitment. I don't know. I'm excited.
A lot of mind melding going on.
Moving away from romance. Richard, what is your third and final memorable moment from season 4?
Book is gone on. Thank goodness he's gone. I want to see Burnham. I want to see her be the captain, as we always see the captains. Love them and leave them. All right. Get back to basics where you making calls without someone looking at you, got something else to say. I mean, she's been enough to that through this season. It started out with the president. I mean, and now it's like it was all through the whole thing and burning my butt. I was like, every time I was like, no, you're the captain of the ship. You do what I'm telling you to do. That's why we didn't like it with the computer. I didn't like it with Book. I didn't like it with the president, the leader of the Federation. I was like, hey, when the captain makes a call, everybody says yes, captain. And so they send him on. They were ready to fly. So I'm like, hey, and so now we're ready. And that's why. And so that was my most memorable thing. Like finally, that's what I said earlier. It was like the last 2 seasons. This was book 1, season 2, book 2, and so now he's on. He's gone.
So I'm not upset that he's gone. Because like he did break the law. Like there was no way he was getting out of it. Like he had to go. Like he had to have to face some type of punishment. And you are right that she is the type of captain, like her word doesn't always seem final, and she's very much taking other people's thoughts into consideration. Not that that's a bad trait, but sometimes you do need to have the final say. And we were seeing that Book. Why was Book still on the ship for so long? I feel like I wouldn't be so annoyed with him if he wasn't on the ship for so long. Like, why are we hosting your ship on the ship, Book? Distance makes the heart grow fonder, and you're not putting any distance there. So I agree. I think I'm happy that Book is gone for a season or two, hopefully. Monica, what do you think?
I really like Book. I hope his character returns because also I think it would be really cool if Michael and Book reunited after her captainship, because I think she has had such a past that's hard to find someone else to connect with. And now that Book is going through rehabilitation and like a potential work release program like her, like they're even developing more connections and similarities in their past. I can only imagine the two of them with each other.
And you said the correct thing after the captainship, because Giorgio told her it was a weakness.
Yeah. And
she has to let it go, and he'll be there later after the captainship. But he was everything Giorgio said he was going to do to her, he did. And she was tough on her, but she was telling her that it was a weakness. And so that was one of the things they had to let it go so that she would become who she's supposed to. We've never seen a starship captain really grow up in front of our eyes and go through all this. They may have all gone through this. We just never seen it.
Well, so we've never seen a captain anyone work their way up to captain. They've always started out as captain. So
yeah. So my final memorable moment, memory from season 4, the episode Choose to Live. The one where Michael and Tilly are catching the killer of a Starfleet officer. And when I say I remembered it on this episode, I remembered it as I was telling you my last memorable moment. Because this also felt like a away mission. We see Michael's mother comes back, but this episode we got to see a little bit more of a world in space without the mystery of the DMA. We got to learn about an alien race, even though again it's smart people making dumb decisions with the secret member order, like just killing people for the dilithium instead of just like, hey, your daughter is a Starfleet captain. Can you get me some dilithium so I can save this ancient alien race? Instead of like going through proper channels or even like sneaking a better way, we just went straight to murder, which was stupid. I did like this episode, and I can't believe I forgot about it till literally while we're recording. So I have to say I did like Choose to Live. What did you guys think of that episode?
I did not like the ending because basically
she got off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the tough thing is that Michael was trying to fight for her to serve some time, but Michael that's not your job, that's not your role, stay in your lane. But
like, is it not though? She killed a Starfleet officer. But that's not the time for this debate.
No, but she's not the judge, jury. She's
execution.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. No, I agree with that. Yes. No, she's not. Yes.
But I like the fact that Gabrielle is definitely in that scene. I don't think they always have to bring her back every season. A little worried about that, and I hope there's more intention there. But maybe they were just also leading up to the fact that there's the future rehabilitation. Imprisonment is more like rehabilitation. And the Emerald Chain had imprisonment with cages, and they weren't learning about their mistakes and being able to move on. And the Federation moves differently, Navarre moves differently, and that's the path that they've taken also with Book. So maybe they were kind of leaning, like helping to guide us into that part of the storyline.
I believe that they felt she still had use and that she would be useful, and that their ways were you had to commit a lot, and that her reasons for doing what she was doing mattered a lot, saving a species and that scene. But I have to say that was the most emotion I saw her mom really show her in the scenes that at the end when she was basically um, wishing her good fortune in the future as she goes on, when they were separating again. For everybody on the show, it was a thing about choosing how they're going to live, and they talked about when one path ends, and that's what the mother said, when you're at the end of a sword, of a when you're at the end of the sword, that path has come to an end. And everybody's not at the proverbial sword, but it's, so to speak, that path ends, and now you must choose to live a different way or take a different path. And that was a really poignant part of the choose to live, because we all thinking, oh, it's life or death, but really it could be just the track you're on. Choose to live something else because you're called for something better.
One more thing, in that episode, I really like the fighting scenes.
Oh, they were amazing.
I think it opened up with action.
It did.
And I think that Discovery does that better than the Strange New World. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. But there's a lot of, I don't know, physical action.
Yeah, there's more hand-to-hand combat in Discovery, and Strange New Worlds is more about phasers.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Okay, guys. Well, we are coming to the end of this episode. So we're going to go ahead and do our wrap up, our final thoughts, and where we think this season may be going next. So, Monica, you can go first. Your final thoughts.
Overall, time and time again, Discovery does not disappoint with drama. There's always drama, 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 big, bold drama. And they always seem to have to save the galaxy, the universe. A lot of pressure there.
No pressure. Just all the pressure.
So I hope we move away from that. That's like, there's just only so much of that you could take before like Hugh just has a meltdown from stress, and the rest of the crew, not just Hugh. But it's I love the action. We could just scale it back a little bit. It's okay. We could scale it back. A little less drama, a little less like we don't have to see whole planets explode. And I hope we get to see them have a little fun with some shore leaves. We hope to see that. I want to see Tilly in the academy. I want to see Jet more Jet.
Consistently.
Consistently, absolutely. And more species, a lot more variety. That's where I hope it goes to next.
Richard?
Well, I believe that something was mentioned earlier they're definitely going to have to do is have a security officer or bring in someone who is like a veteran of Starfleet that is that person, that is that person on the leadership team. And I believe that they're going to have some new characters, that the cadets we saw in this episode will now become ensigns and be assigned, and because you want to learn more about them, because they had a couple good episodes, and I think it's going to grow in that way. I really I like the way they do it. I would just love them to be more consistent with now that Michael doing the star date when it comes on, and say what is going on, instead of just throw you into it. Like, we're heading here, we're heading towards this. Oh, this is where to give you a kind of direction, because you're kind of in the show figuring out what's going on, where they can just give you a little bit in the beginning, and then that they're on the new mission, But I just believe, like you said, they're going deeper, and they're going to discover something, and then have to end up saving the world from what they just discovered. And but what I really love about the show is that even it's called Star Trek Discovery. But what I found out is that they always discover more about the mission they're on. They discover more about each other, and they discover more about themselves. And you really see that in the writing of the show and the building of the characters, and it doesn't disappoint.
So on that note, I want them to stop that and discover space. For my final thought. Because you're right. This has been a discovery of like who they are, and it's like an internal discovery. And I would like to flip that, because the end of the season, we has shown them that they can travel outside of the known galaxy. that there are other alien species out there that they're not aware of. I would like that this would be a jumping off point to going where no other ship has gone before, to travel further and farther and to actually go about their name and discover more of space. I would love for the ensigns that we saw, the cadets, to be the new ensign, to be a little bit more lifeblood into the show. I would like some emotion taken out. I would like some heartfeltness taken out. And I would like it to be, Monica, stop shaking your head at me. I would like for it to not be so factored around, how are you feeling? Because I don't really care. I want to see the action. I want it to be centered around some action. And I would hope that season 5, I think I've been saying this since season 1, that there's not another season long mystery. Or if it has to be a mystery, can it be part 1 and part 2, not a full 13 episode season long mystery? Please, I am begging you. I want fun. And I feel like sometimes these episodes, when everything has to be so connected and in a line and everything has to be shown, it's not as fun to watch. It's more of a assignment because you need to know what's happening. Can we go back? Can we do a mix of season 1 and Strange New World? If we can go back to the formula of like season 1 where it was like there was a mystery, but like it wasn't, but there was, and then like throwing the way how Strange New Worlds has random away missions, throws that in there, and they're discovering, and they can just mix that in together and somewhat be season 5. Anything to add, guys, before we log off for the season?
This is fun. I always look forward to the season finales because, as we stated, this is basically a 13-hour movie.
It is.
And so then we get a chance to put all these pieces of the puzzle together and debrief or vent about it. And I look forward to these.
And it's just like they had a little bit of surprises in there. Like one of the ships, for anybody that's a real Trekkie, you heard it was the U.S. Janeway, because there was a Captain Janeway, and I was like, oh wow, they're naming the ships after the captains that we know. And when they turned the little sign around with the starship saying "Believe all is possible," I was like, oh, see, they were putting little things in it throughout the season that you were like, oh man, that was great, And so I like the little tie-ins and the innuendos that they were doing throughout the episodes, throughout the season.
Always nice to tie it back. That's nice. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us, for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you listen to us on Spotify or iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts, thank you so much. And as always, I'm Andrea.
I'm Anika.
And I'm
Live
Richard.
long. Oh, sorry. And live long and prosper.
And prosper.